Hey, what's up? How's it going, you guys? Decided to go ahead and do a live stream here. I'm testing out some stuff here for some things I've got planned for the channel. So what I'm looking at is doing some more live streaming, and then also some not really gameplay. Well, I mean, it's going to be some gameplay, but not the kind of games you're thinking. I actually found this really cool game. It's called, let me see, it's called Human Resources Machine, and it is a programming game that shows you how to basically teaches you to program assembly. I've been actually playing it on my iPhone. I thought that would be a pretty damn cool thing to do, like some videos on, like gameplay videos, because I don't want to just do regular gameplay videos, but since that is teaching you to do assembly programming, it's pretty fun. I thought I'd do that. So anyway, um, cool. I'm seeing you guys chatting here. So I see that Nicholas is wearing the Trusted Process shirt. That's cool. Awesome. Glad to see you guys here. Let's see how many you got. 51 people. Wow, that's pretty cool. Awesome. How's everyone doing tonight? Cool. Why am I up so late? It's actually not that late for me. It's like 10 o'clock. So, I mean, I probably do need to go to sleep. I ran a half marathon today, and it was pretty killer. But yeah, I figured I'd do a stream. So yeah, what I'm doing is I'm setting up this software. It's called OBS, which allows you to do live streaming. Also lets you do video capture. The last time I did a live stream, I think I did it from my phone. So that yeah. so so yeah, so this is will let me do it from my desktop here, which will be a little bit better. So yeah, so I don't know, just testing it out, getting this stuff working. I was actually trying to get screen capture working because I really want to do some videos on that, the gameplay for that human resources machine. It's pretty fun. So super chat is available. Where can I buy the shirt? Someone wants to know. Store.simpleprogrammer.com. You can get the Trusted Process shirt. I guess I don't advertise it that much. I should be putting it in the descriptions in the video, but if you want the shirt, yeah, store.simpleprogrammer.com. Someone wants to know when the last time I coded was. Well, it was just like 5 minutes ago, I guess, because I was playing the Human Resources Machine and I was coding in assembler for fun. But yeah, man, I got to tell you though, I am missing coding after playing that game. I'm itching to do some coding because I realized how much I love solving problems and just like, man, I could spend hours optimizing the code in that game. So let's see. I'll do some. Oh, someone's asking about the shirt. So I'm not wearing the shirt right now, but the Trusted Process shirt, if you've seen it in the videos, that's what we were talking about. So I can answer a few questions if you guys want to do some Q&A. But like I said, I'm not going to stay too late tonight. This is just kind of really a test run of this, but I plan on doing some regular Q&As. But yeah, I'm going to go to sleep. I woke up real early this morning and ran a half marathon. Got a PR, a 1:53 in 11 seconds. So let's see here. Yeah, I'm going to do a series on the game, on the human resources machine. That's my plan, actually. That's why I'm setting up the software. So Java or C++? Java. Don't do C++ unless you need to. That's an easy one. I mean, C++ is great, right? It's a really good language. Don't get me wrong. Okay, I cut my teeth on C++. Really, that was really the big thing that advanced my career initially. But if you don't need to learn it, start out with Java. Eventually, go learn C++ if you want or C. But it's going to be much harder to start your career learning C++. It's not going to be as useful, right? So Java would be the better way to go between those two. C Sharp, yeah, is always gonna have a special place in my heart, though. Although I will tell you guys a story. So I was actually very resistant to C Sharp when it first came out. I was doing a lot of C++ development, and I really did not like C Sharp and .NET because I felt like it was too easy and simple, and I had spent all this time investing and becoming an expert in C++ and learning STL and how to optimize loops and all the crazy shit that you do in C++. and I was very resistant to it. But then once I started actually coding in C Sharp, I eventually gave in and said, this is way more efficient, way better. I'm more productive, so I can't really hold on to C++, and I let it go. Though I still have a special place in my heart for C++. Okay, so what do we got here? What kind of questions? What do people want to know about? Tell me about the application you've made. I think that's a little bit too vague there. How to balance learning and working. This is a good one. So, I don't know. Well, okay. I want to answer this one real quick. What is my VO2 max? I don't know. I need to get that tested and find out. I want to go and do that test. But now I'll answer the how to balance learning and working. So, learning and working. Here's the thing. If you can, if you're working, you're usually not learning so much, right? So, man, it's so distracting with the chat. I am going to run a full June 4th. I'm running a full marathon. So, as far as the learning and working, I would say that a lot of times on the job. Well, okay, so let me point you to a book. There's a book. Oh, I can't do it. I don't have an editor for live stuff, man. But I'll point you to a book anyway. It's called Peak. I've actually got a review coming out on this. And one of the cool things about that book is he talks about this idea of deliberate practice. And the thing is that, like, if you're learning on the job, if you're working, you're actually not learning as much because you're not doing deliberate practice. And so you definitely have to spend dedicated time learning, because if you don't, if you're just trying to do stuff on the job, you will get better to some degree. Just like we stop progressing at the ability of driving or walking, right, if we don't actually push it to the limit. So you have to do deliberate practice. So as far as balancing those things, what I used to do was dedicate a certain amount of time every day to learning. And so I would do my regular job, and I would dedicate about an hour to 2 hours a day of learning, just as a baseline. So I would just set aside that time every day, right? I used to do it treadmill time. I used to be on the treadmill, and I would be reading a technical book, and then I would spend some time coding, like learning something like Android or iOS development on my own. So let's see. Okay, would you say your priority in training is hypertrophy or cardiovascular health? Let's be honest here. I'm vain. It's hypertrophy. I wanna look good. That's why I work out, right? No, but it's true. But actually, lately though, I have been trying to. I wanted to run a 1:45 half marathon, not because of cardiovascular health necessarily. Like that's just like a side benefit, but just because I want to push myself and challenge myself, and I'm having some fun. Like it feels so good to like almost puke and feel like you're gonna die. I mean, in a sick, morbid way, it feels good to push yourself like way beyond what you thought was possible. It just, I don't know, it makes you tougher, makes you stronger, makes you appreciate oxygen in life a little bit more. So I like to push myself to that extreme. Let's see. Do I like mashed potatoes? I fucking love mashed potatoes. Awesome. But I don't get to eat them that much. So let's see. What do we got here? Gonna give you a height 5 someday. I don't know what that is. Are you recording the Audible version of your new book? Good question. Yes, absolutely. It's going to be long, though, because it's like a 600-page book. I'm actually going through the final editing process, and I'm adding a bunch of... You guys are going to love this. So in the new book, like if you've been following it on the blog, I'm adding new stuff to it. I'm adding sections that I'm calling like Hey John, and so it's more like this, like the YouTube format. So the book is, of course, more educational focused. There's some humor and some entertainment in it, of course, but the Hey Johns are more, how can I put it, like they're more off the cuff. They're more like, like in the chapter, what I did was I took a lot of what reviewers asked and the questions they asked, and I made Hey John sections of it. So it's like, Hey John, why do you hate JavaScript so much, you asshole? And then I answer that, right? And I talk about the history or I answer some kind of question like that. So I think you guys are going to like that, and that's going to work really good in the Audible format. So I'm excited to record the book, but it's going to take a long ass time. Let's see. Did you read the book Bill Gates suggested to students? I have not. For penetration testing, what would you recommend? I don't know. Let me see here. Would you take a 50% pay cut to... Oh man, these are coming fast and furious here. To do a job you love over one you hate? Oh, that's a good question. So let's talk about that for a second. Would you take a 50% pay cut to do a job that you love over a job you hate? It depends, right? I mean, here's the thing. It's like I wouldn't think of it of in terms of what I love or what I hate. I would think of it in terms of what will best suit my future, right? So I've always talked about this idea of choosing power over money, choosing responsibility over money, right? Because in the long term, power and responsibility, which are essentially the same thing, will get you money and they'll get you more money, right? So in the short term, money, maybe you chase that, but in the long term, it will always catch up. If you have a huge amount of responsibility, if you have a huge amount of power, you are going to be able to acquire money. That is always tradable for money, but it doesn't work necessarily the other way around, or rather, it does work the other way around, but it requires a large amount of money to buy power or to buy responsibility. So I would not think about the question of like, would you take a 50% pay cut to do something you love? Forget about what you love. Forget because what you love may change from time to time. What are your goals? What are your goals in life? And look at instead which job is going to move you towards those goals in life. Which one is going to give you more responsibility, more power, more ability, more maneuverability. That's going to give you a better future. Look long term and see what play is better there, because going based on what you love, not a good idea. You can love whatever you do, right? I mean, learn how to love what you do. Learn how to put your fire and your passion into whatever you do and love it, instead of depending on something that you love. That's just not a good way to go. Let's see here. Uh, you guys, there's a lot of questions here. So I'm not ignoring you, but I'm trying to not glance at the screen the whole time here, so I can answer some questions. But let's see here. Oh, here's a good one. What's your view on investing in cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, etc.? Man, and here's someone asked, do you have any life regrets? I'll just combine those two. How about that? I was watching. There's a buddy of mine. He runs this site called Block Geeks, and I actually interviewed him on here, Amir, and he's been advising to invest in Bitcoin and Ethereum, and he's been showing how it's been going up and going up. So I don't know. It's a very risky, volatile currency. I wish I would have gotten in and taken at least a very small position in it, just so I would have a horse in that game, because this is one of those things that has a very high upside. I'd be, if I put money into it, I'd be ready to lose it all. Okay. But because it has such a high upside, there's such volatility to it. It's a good horse to have, right? So, and a lot of people benefit from it. Now, at this point that it's right, but this is the thing, right? Everyone always says this, but I'm not going to mess with it really, because I feel like I've missed the boat on it, and I feel like it's too late. I mean, I could be totally wrong here, and I said that before, but I don't know. Like, it's just. It probably will go up some more, but it could also come crashing down bad. So I just don't have time to play with that. I'm doing solid investment, right? The most solid investment that I could possibly do right now is investing in Simple Programmer. It's investing my time, making these videos, doing what I'm doing here, because I have control over that. I don't have control over Bitcoin. I don't have control over cryptocurrency. I think it's the future. I think, yeah, that it's an awesome idea, but I don't have control over that, so I'm not going to waste my time investing in that. I'm going to build the stuff that I have control over, and that's one thing I would advise for you is, like, I mean, it's okay to invest, right? I mean, I invest in, but even when I invest in real estate, I have a lot of control over that, right? I mean, real estate is one of those things that you actually do have a lot of control over. That's why I invest so much in real estate, but that's for the long term. That's like that. There's a totally different thing here, right? I've got an interview, actually interviewed really cool guy, MJ DeMarco, Millionaire Fastlane. He sent me some books, some signed books and stuff, which I'm going to be giving away. The interview will be coming out pretty soon. And, we're talking, and he does the same strategy as I do. I mean, he invests his time in the business, but then when he makes money from the business, he takes that, and he doesn't invest in real estate, but he invests in like bonds, or dividend paying stocks. And it's the same strategy. It's like you make the money, like you get on the Millionaire Fast Lane and you make the money there, but then you need a secure future, right? Your business, right? The way that you make the money on the fast lane is not secure, right? That's a way to make the most money, but then you got to take that and you got to put that somewhere. So I put it in real estate investment. He put it in, dividend paying stocks. He gets about a 5% return on investment. I probably get like a 8 or 9% on average, but it's a little bit more overhead. But that's the key. Let's see. Looking for some top places you think people should travel to. Oh, that's interesting. I mean, I'm definitely not like I've traveled around the world, but not as much as some people. Places I really liked were Iceland. Iceland is a pretty damn cool place. I trying to think where else. I like London, of course. I mean, but that's a pretty common place to go. I went to China, and that was very interesting. It's not a vacation. China's not a vacation. It's you know, but it's worth seeing. It's an experience. It's an awesome experience. But Iceland is probably the place I'd say like that's like it's a place you might not think of going. But I mean, volcanoes and glaciers, right? Think of like Yellowstone. It's like geysers, like everything there. It's like the craziest place on earth in my opinion. And it's just fun. I really got a lot of fun or a lot of enjoyment out of Iceland. Let's see. I've never been to Singapore. Is Ruby dying compared to Python? I don't know. I mean, I've been saying that I think Ruby. I think Ruby's dying. There's plenty of Ruby developers. I mean, it's like you don't have to worry if you're a Ruby developer. Like you're gonna find work. There's plenty of Ruby apps out there, but it doesn't seem to be growing to me. And to me, if it's not growing, it's dying. So, I like Ruby. It's a pretty cool language. I don't have anything against it, but I don't see it growing. I don't see a huge advance. It's not as on fire as it was, right? Anything that's like trendy always has that downside of it. So yeah, I really couldn't say. Maybe it'll be resurrected again. I mean, Ruby. When was Ruby invented? Like a long time ago, and no one paid attention to it, and then all of a sudden it became super hot. It's and popular. So, but yeah, again, I'm not 100% sure on that one. What are your thoughts on PHP? You haven't had much comment on it. Isn't that the language that you love to hate but you use, right? So it's funny because am I Mexican? No, I'm not. I'm Italian and Turkish. But on PHP, I would say that you can knock PHP for as much as you want, but my website's running on it, right? WordPress, and Facebook was built on it. I think Twitter was built on it, right? So as much as it is it is not the best programming language. I mean, the design is not great, right? It didn't even have an official reference. It didn't actually have official spec for quite a long time, but it passed the test of people being able to use it and be able to build shit quickly on it. So there's something for that, right? There's always this too, which I've learned, and I'll tell you this. I'll tell you the truth, okay? I learned this since becoming an entrepreneur because before I did, I thought I thought a different way. I was less pragmatic before I became an entrepreneur. When I was just working for someone else as a software developer, I used to, preach from my ivory tower and say, this is how you got to do it in test-driven development and all this stuff. But since I became an entrepreneur, I've learned to be a lot more pragmatic. And so there's stuff that I don't like, right? It doesn't taste good to me. Isn't aesthetically pleasing to me. It doesn't float my boat, but it's effective and efficient, and PHP falls into that, right? Doing stupid pop-ups on my site and long-form sales pages, which I don't really like. That's the most effective way to market and to build Simple Programmer and to sell my products. I don't particularly like that. I mean, but hey, like I could ignore that data, and just like I could say, oh, well, PHP, I don't like that. I could, you could ignore all that stuff and not be pragmatic, and you could miss out, and you could have this whole aesthetically pleasing everything, right? And you would totally miss Craigslist if you did that. If you were, if you're an entrepreneur, right? You would say, oh, fuck Craigslist. It looks like shit, but you would have missed out on quite an opportunity. So I've become a lot more pragmatic as I've learned how the world works, and so I have to accept a lot of things that are not exactly pleasing to me, but they're effective, and that's where PHP. I don't know how we went from PHP to that, but there you go. How old am I? I'm 36. I'll be 37 next month. Let's see here. What OS do I prefer? This is a loaded question. I prefer Windows still. I don't know. I've tried to. It's probably just because it's ingrained in my nervous system. Let's see here. All right, I'm probably gonna stick around for another. What time is it? I gotta get some sleep here. Maybe I'll give you guys another like 5 or 10 minutes. Then, am I investing in silver or gold? Or gold? Oh, let's see. So we got, and how many views do you get to Simple Programmer website? No, I'm not investing in silver or gold. I would rather invest in real estate. I here's the thing. I'll tell you something about silver and gold too. I think it's a, and you know, people are gonna think I'm crazy, but it's fine. I think it's a shit investment, and I'll tell you why. Because we are not very far from being from at an atomic level being able to create and alter elements, alchemy, basically, right? I mean, it's at a different thing than way back then. But essentially, when we figure out how to like convert elements, right, to change the atomic structure of things, you can create gold, you can create silver. Like I think we're going to hit that point very soon, and when you do, all of those precious metals and everything suddenly becomes worthless. That's why I'm avoiding it. I know that's crazy, I understand that, but hey, when it happens, then you know, then don't say I didn't warn you. Let's see, how many views do you get to the Simple Programmer website? About 250 to 300,000 a month. Let's see what we got here. How much do I make? It depends on the year, but somewhere between, I'd say, I mean, based on in my investments and everything in Pluralsight and website and everything, maybe 700 to 800,000 a year. Do I have any pets? Nope. I don't like responsibility. I don't like unnecessary responsibility. Afraid of real estate bubble? Nope. I survived the first real estate bubble. I'll survive the next one. You know why? Because I'm not leveraged. Well, I've been leveraged before, but in a smart way. I invest. I don't speculate. That's how you survive bubbles. Is you invest. Solid investments are always solid investments. Okay. When I buy a property, the rental income covers the mortgage. Okay, and that's a solid. It's always going to be a good investment, right? That's the thing. I'm not counting on appreciation. I'm not rich because I have to pay more than half of that in taxes. And I live quite frugally. I live probably more frugally than most of the people that watch my videos, to be honest with you, if you're in the US at least. Do I meditate? No, not really. I tried it a little bit. I need to get, one of my goals for the year is to do transcendental meditation class. Do I bet on TypeScript? I don't know. I haven't followed the TypeScript thing that much. I thought it was pretty cool, but I don't bet on technologies that piggyback on other technologies, and TypeScript piggybacks on JavaScript. So that's the problem I would have with that. Let's see. How much does it cost your t-shirt? I believe it's $30 right now, like $28, and it's a pretty good deal for international shipping because it's not much more. So let's see. Yeah, store.simpleprogrammer.com if you want that. I was a .NET developer. Do I spend more time coding or working out? Definitely working out. I don't spend a lot of time coding anymore. Pay more than half in taxes. Yes, I do. More than 50%, definitely, even in the US here. And I'll tell you why. It's because just the income tax alone for federal income taxes ends up being like 38% for most of the income, as well as I cap out on the California tax rate at 10%. Plus, you've got corporate taxes in California that hit you for these franchise fees, and then you've got real estate taxes, which I pay like $40,000 a year probably in real estate taxes. You've got sales tax on top of that, and employment tax. It ends up being ridiculous. But hey, that's life. Hey, I'm not going to complain because you know how you beat taxes? You make more money. That's how you beat taxes. Because you don't have shit that you don't have control over. You can cry about it, but what is that going to do, right? You make more money. That's how you beat it. What do Someone already asked about Bitcoins. Okay, I'm going to answer one more question, and then I'm going to go to bed. This is fun. I like you guys. Good questions here. It's fun to hang out. I feel like I'm hanging out with my buddies here, all of you all. So let's see here. Look for a good question here. This is how to deal with wrong decisions that affect my body irreversibly. I don't even know how to answer that. Let me see. Let's see. I haven't been really tracking early stage startups. I'm looking for a good question. I move out of the Democratic shithole. I like California though. It's beautiful. I might not like the politics, but okay. Oh, here we go. Here's a good question. I've got it now. All right. What was the best thing you ever learned in your life? What's the best thing I ever learned in my life? Man, this is hard. On a different day, I would answer this in a different way. How's that for a rhyme? I would say this, though. What was the best thing I ever learned in my life? It was this. It's that what other people think about what you're doing is totally fucking irrelevant. Do not ever let someone else's opinion or their judgment of you determine what you do. You just fucking do you. You just fucking decide what it is that you want to do. And as long as you're pushing it hard, as long as you're driving in that direction. I mean, if 10 years ago, or I guess 7 years ago, I said I'm going to create a personal development site and YouTube channel and business for software developers and soft skills, people will say you're crazy. That's stupid. No one's going to pay for it. You can't make money doing that. But Simple Programmer has grown. I mean, one of the biggest programming blogs, right? I mean, it's the YouTube channel, right? Again, people say all the time, "Oh, that can't work." Yeah, how are you even going to find people? I mean, you're doing personal development for software developers. How's that going to work? But hey, we're about to hit 100,000 subscribers. So you don't know. You don't know. You just got to choose what you're going to do. So I learned. It took me a long time to learn this, by the way. I wish I would have learned this. I wish I would have learned this when I was 20. Okay, I thought that that I had to listen to other people and listen to their advice. Fuck that. Now I just do it. Right. I just do what I'm going to do. And it doesn't mean I'm perfect. It doesn't mean I don't make mistakes. But I own those. Those are mine. Okay. Where I'm living my life. Okay, and so I get to learn from them. If I do what someone else tells me to do, and I mess up and I fail, I don't learn much. Okay, but when I take the responsibility for my life, so that's what I learned. The most important thing I'd say that I learned is that I ignore everyone, ignore the haters, but also ignore the lovers. Just do your thing, right? It doesn't mean that you don't respect people. It doesn't mean that you don't listen, that you don't have your ears open. But it means that ultimately you make the decision and you choose a direction for your life. And fuck it if everyone thinks that it's crazy. Who cares, right? You will be happiest in your life when you are doing what you believe is right and when you choose that path. So I'll end it on that. I think that's a good note to end it on. Appreciate you guys staying up with me. You guys are awesome. Seriously, you guys really are awesome. This has been fun. I want to do this more because I really do enjoy hanging out with you guys. So good night, and I'll see you next time. Take care.